Welcome to Ride the Wave, hosted by me, Jeff Fisher, and co-hosted by Mark Robinson, in partnership with the Ride the Wave Foundation. Visit us at ridethewave.org, where we're dedicated to empowering their lives through free resources in servant leadership, mental health wellness, and how to find a purpose. At Ride the Wave, we believe in the power of every story, talent, and voice. Our commitment is clear: to bridge divides, unite communities, and build an all-inclusive, modern campus for those experiencing homelessness. So let's dive in and ride the wave of positive change together. Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us, and riding the wave with us today is a returning guest. His name is Ron Gillock. Ron, thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. It's good to see you guys, Mark and Jeff.
Thanks for being back, buddy.
Thank you.
Mark,
Appreciate you.
as usual, buddy. How are things?
Not too bad.
Good, excellent. So Ron, check out episode 21 to get to know him. We did Kingdom Hustle, which was a really good show. He's a business development coach. He also recently was promoted to be a operations director, at Solid Foundation, which is a youth outreach. So again, Ron, really appreciate you being here, taking the time to sit with us. We're going to be talking about servant leadership today, which is a subject that I love. I'm trying to position myself also the way I lead teams as a servant leadership. So yeah, great subject, man. To start, Ron, I'll ask you, what is servant leadership?
So that's, a really popular topic, but I think it's a concept from the 70s originally. And my understanding of it is really to empower your team and your people and the group that you're with by serving them instead of having a top-down kind of structure where it's more totalitarian. Everyone, listen to the boss. Servant leadership is more like empowering each person uniquely with the right match of mentoring, tools, all that stuff, so they can really perform at their best. It's a way to, humbly empower and lift up others.
Yeah, and it's something that I think that works for sure, and it's proven to work. Positivity works in the workforce. It really is something that's proven to do so. And anytime I position myself where here's all right, what could I do for you? How could I help you? Here's what the goal is. Here's the plans, where we need to be. How could I support your efforts? And also a little bit of persuasion there instead of that, like you said, that tyrant sort of, you must do this, you must do that, micromanagement style, if you will.
Yeah, I think like in any organization, you still need to have clear accountability, clear metrics, and what are the tasks, and for something with servant leadership to work, I think you need to have clarity on some of the things that we live and die by, and what are we measuring, what are we holding accountable, because I can be your friend and be all buddy, but at the end of the day, wherever we're working, whether it's for-profit, non-profit, whatever, we are trying to produce something, right? We're trying to yield a certain fruit, if you will.
Yeah. And I think trust is a big thing, and clarity of vision, having a clear mission, and then it's our responsibility as leaders to continuously remind the organization of what it is, so being almost a cultural liaison to police the culture and hold people accountable, like you mentioned, but also to make sure that everybody realizes that, and the empowerment aspect of empowering people, making sure they're healthy, having health initiatives, things like that, I think is huge. Good work-life balance.
Yeah, sometimes I think organizations should have a chief culture officer.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing too. If you don't have work-life balance, if you're not taking care of yourself or working at a sustainable pace, I don't think the servant leadership stuff is really going to match or work. People got to be taken care of, and like know that they're safe to wrestle through an issue or talk through an issue. So, that element of trust. I almost wonder. I almost want to say, like, without the trust, you can't show up as a servant leader.
Yeah.
Or it's not going to be received.
Yeah, because it's like you have to be it's like in workplaces, you can be a good coworker or a good friend to a person in the workplace, but I think a lot of times it's like you could be a good friend or good coworker, but a terrible boss, terrible leader, and vice versa. I'm saying, and it's like it has to be, the leaders have to be held accountable for their actions, as well as the leaders would hold the employees accountable for that. It has to be a balance. But then it's like in a workplace when like an employee sees the leader doing something that's not ethical of the workplace, and they try to go and report it to the higher ups, then it becomes an issue between whomever that team leader is and the employee, and it starts to accumulate conflict in the workplace.
I think, Mark, you brought up two good points. I think he really did. That accountability aspect, one, and that almost walking the walk, right? Because you could tell people what to do and stuff like that, right? Anywhere. But if you're not doing it yourself, and it's not always easy to do that, because high level where you want to be and how people should act and how you would want to act. So through presentations, you're always I feel like I'm presenting utopia, like what the best case result is. And I definitely do walk the walk when I can, but sometimes I think communication, where that lacks, doubt fills in as well. Good. So to piggyback off that, I think a lack of communication, people could fester on the other end and wonder if you're not communicating, especially if there's a change in plans or something.
Yeah. Like going back to what Mark said in that scenario, when there was, something unethical happening, I need to report it to the higher up or something. I think a lot of organizations are lacking the culture of, hey, like I'm going to go talk to that person and say like, hey, like, this isn't matching who we are. Like, this isn't matching how we're working here. So like the responsibility first is with your coworker, with yourself. Like we don't always have to, go tell the next higher person. Like I think you can go directly to them, and then if you don't see a change, then you bring in the next person. Because without that trust and that direct communication to the person, you create a fracture in the organization where mistrust and doubt come in, and this is creating wedges in your culture and in your organization where you can't actually do the stuff that you want to do, and it's just one of the ingredients of culture chaos.
Yeah, because it's like if you see an individual in the workplace that's doing not so much ethical work, then you try to go to that individual directly. Then, depending on the individual, they could either take it in a good way, or they could take it as you're singling them out, or picking on them, and then it'll cause a conflict between you and that person.
I think that,
you know what I'm saying? And then, it just start to go back and forth and creates a ripple effect in the workplace.
So with that, like, there's like this prerequisite that, it's not the end all be all that solves anything, but I think it'll help, because that's exactly what happens is like, I now have an issue with Mark. Me and Mark are like, not cool because Ron called me out, or vice versa, or whatever. But if you have a culture doc that the leader like regularly refers to, like the CEO or whoever's, leading our meeting or managing should be referring constantly to your vision. Vision leaks. You always got to refill the team with fresh vision. And even if you said the same exact thing last week, say it again over and over and over. And the same thing with like culture. Maybe you can highlight a different part of your culture every week. So slowly over time, we are transforming into a better version of ourselves and stuff for the organization. So then when there's a violation of our culture, of our ethics, of our values organizationally, I'm not the bad guy. Mark's not the bad guy. We're referring back to this culture document as a tool and saying, look what the tool says here. If we measure ourselves against the tool, like how do we think we're doing? What would you score yourself here? And it takes the pressure and the being the bad guy off the leader and saying, we're both going to look at this tool together. So there's some mechanisms in the foundation of an organization that can be in health, in place to really help us be healthy. And I call this moving from toys to tools. Like we can have, these ideas and values and intangibles, but once I put it into paper and refer to it and bringing it up, it now becomes a tool that I can become empowered by. But I have to get the rest of the team on board with that as well. Right. If it doesn't come from, it's really weird because servant leadership is the idea of lifting others up so they can do this thing. But then there's some things that, and maybe I could be wrong, but some things I feel like from the leader who has the highest position or whatever, however you want to say it, there's some things they need to hold steady, and like it has to come from the top down, like the ownership of the vision, ownership of the culture, ownership of accountability. Like if I'm not willing to hold my leaders accountable, why should they hold their teams accountable, and why should they hold themselves or each other accountable? So like, I can lift up and empower and serve upwards, but then there's some things I need to model downward.
Right. And I think the communication aspect of that, being transparent as well. And, like you are different than Alex, and I think as a leader, understanding your team and the differences there, so you can sort of customize specific leadership qualities towards that individual. Like you may not react well to something where Alex may not care or something like that. So not having one cookie cutter fits all, and understanding that there are differences in other people. You may react well to positive enforcement. Well, where somebody else doesn't care about that. They don't care about having something on their desk that's there. Somebody else may care about that. Somebody else may just want to come to work and get a check, and they're extremely efficient at it. Okay, that's that person. Having the overall vision there, but then having an understanding of what people could bring to the table themselves, and then fostering that. Because one of the things we're doing is not, we could some in the future as we grow our team, health initiatives, certain things like that, but having the ability to say, all right, you're on board with us. We'll sit down. What are your goals? What are something you want to do? All right, I want to get more healthier. All right, well, could we utilize company money to get you a personal trainer? Or what could we do here? So customizing
counseling
plans.
Or something like that.
Counseling. Yeah, mental health.
Or coach.
Or either just finding out like what their hobbies and what their goals are, and try to help them with what their goals and what their hobbies are. Like for me, I want to work on my art, or somebody else might want to just start a hobby or something, or I'm saying things like that or whatever. So
Bob was on talking about he did something called Dream Manager in Walmart, which was really well. You can come on board, but what's your dream? We'll work on that while you're here. So things like that, I think are really important. What do you think about something like that? Having that customized plan for somebody that comes in, opposed to making it sort of general.
Oh, gotcha.
That ability to sit somebody down and be like, all right, this is like personally what you want. We'll utilize those those company resources around it.
Having that leader to sit down and talk to the employee, find out what their skills are, actually getting to know their employees.
Yeah, I think you can show up as a leader transactionally or relationally, and I forget who says it. I should know this one, but people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care.
I like that.
So building those relationships and those inroads are invaluable. You know, like I'm a newer person at the organization I'm working at right now, and so much of it, and working with younger people who don't have the same luxury of experience of professionalism. We are encountering some challenges of culture challenges, respect issues, communication issues, and unmet and uncommunicated expectations. So all of these things, are just valuable. But if there is no relationship with the person or the opportunity to do that, like there's not really too much to develop the respect. Like there's that basic level a lot of times is like, yep, I respect you. You're the one who cuts my check. I got it. Got to be nice to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, let's just be real. But then there's the people that you want to work with, and they want to work with you. They want to listen because they know they're heard. They know they're valued. They know that you will create the things that are in them, that you'll pull those things out of them. And I think a servant leader does a really good job of setting up the environment and the relationships for them to grow, for them to thrive, for them to perform at their best. And I feel like that's really kind of your job as a servant leader, is almost to play the role of coach or mechanic on these list of A-team players. Even if they're not A-team players, I need to view them and treat them as if they are, and become that. Like one of the things I like about the Ride the Wave Foundation is that emphasis on equality and seeing the people for who they are, and that they have gifts, talents, and abilities and stuff. And if we can actually slow down for a second and spend more time with people, it's like, holy crap, this unlocks doors to solutions to
so
problems
talented.
that I have, and things that, like, I didn't know the solutions were this simple, and they're all around me and at my fingertips.
Yeah.
But I need to slow down and be still with people. But I think there's this challenge too for the leader, or even just us as professionals or entrepreneurs, whatever, that our culture, our society values busyness and hurriedness and how fast can I get.
Doesn't mean you get things done though. Doesn't mean you could be doing a lot of things. You could be doing
That's
a lot
my
of
point.
things. Yeah, I know where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah. So if the real gift, I think, to stepping into this idea of servant leadership first is being able to receive first. And I think the first way I can do that is being kind to myself and with being willing to be still. So why am I talking about being still in servant leadership? When you are still, all the stuff, good and bad, will rise up, and you will bubble up, right? Almost kind of like a wave, if you will, right? That wave comes up, and it's like, well, what do I do with this? There's this saying in Christianity and in the Bible too, be still and know that I am God. It seems like a overly simple ask. Be still and know that I'm God. Well, if we are willing to slow down and be still, we'll find that in that stillness is where the breakthrough comes. Either what you're wrestling with, the negative stuff that comes up, is coming up for a reason, so you can deal with it, get it out, clear it up, so you can show up as the leader you need to. And God's really the one that will help you facilitate that, because in the stillness, you find out, oh, there's this creator that loves me this much that he's allowing this stuff in me to come up right now so he can scoop it off, and I'm becoming a better version of me. And then in the stillness too is when your downloads come, your best ideas. Ever notice how you get great ideas in the shower?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're relaxed, you're at peace, you're chilling. Oh, be still and know that I am God. If you have this belief that your higher power wants you to succeed, wants you to utilize your gifts, talents, and abilities, just like what Ride the Wave sees that in people. If we really believe that our higher power believes that about us too, well, how would we show up? How would we slow down? How would we be still to spend time with a creator and say, okay, these things are developing. These things are coming up in me, and they're good and they're great. What if I connect some of these ideas or these things with other people? What could I create? Or this connects to something that Mark said. This connects to something that Jeff said. But I have to cultivate that time of stillness as the leader. Some organizations call it CEO think time. I don't like to be so corporate-y. I just call it be still. Be still. And that's so much good stuff comes from that.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that leaders that have an understanding of that could do it in indirect ways, like how Wave and we're going and trying to train people there, to spark that, to get to the root of who people are. And there's strategies to, whether it's journaling, whether it's reading, whether it's taking that alone time, if you're somebody that reads scripture, prayer, things like that, to get to the bottom of that purpose there. And to take it back too, you totally nailed it with the new generation. Stats do show that right now they're leaving jobs because they don't feel wanted. They don't feel needed. They don't feel like that attention is there. So it makes sense. It just makes sense. And it's, to me, it's smart business-wise to adopt the servant leadership model. But I think it has to come from a sincere place. I don't think it's not something you could just force and just say, all right, we're going to do the servant leadership model. No, hopefully we could be in a position to position ourselves as thought leaders through the process equipment company that I have in the industry to teach people maybe how to connect either a foundation or their purpose into their company. And now leveraging a show and a book in a unique way, there might be ways to be able to help other organizations to get to their passion or get to their purpose. There's really good organizations out there with great cultures too, to mirror off that. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think making sure that you're taking the proper time to self-reflect. Self-awareness is key. Having self-awareness, knowing what, for me, is where do I lack? What am I bad at? What could I improve? Fill in the gaps with people that are better than me at that. Mm-hmm. And then foster, all right, what could I do really well? Well, you know what? I could be somebody that injects the culture, really motivates people, operates at a high level within the sister companies, like authoring books, speaking, Mark and I doing things with the foundation, but it all tying into things that I could do with the equipment business as well. What could I do there? Oh, I could, at a high level direct here. I could do marketing. So having that understanding of where you fit in, I think is really important too, as a leader.
Yeah, we just, I'm a fan of this one assessment called Working Genius. It splits people up into 6 different parts that are, shaped like gears that all kind of fit together. It's often like not necessarily like the person who is like, I wonder what could be, as the same person that's also like executing and like getting everything done. So like, I think doing some kind of assessment with your leadership team or your staff, whether it's like Working Genius or the Kiersey, Strength Finders, like any of those kind of things. There's a ton out there, right? Doing something to have that ammunition of like, how can I best facilitate this group of people? Like if I have a bunch of people that all have the same gifts and talents, wiring as I do, like that's probably a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm learning that as a leader, that even though somebody is different than me, doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing. Or if somebody maybe doesn't collaborate as much as I normally. So meeting people where they're at was tough for me in the beginning, and not trying to mold somebody into maybe what I would want them to be. And also, I guess my question to you, because one of the things that for me is accountability at this point is, want to be nice, want to make sure that everybody realizes the vision and mission. There is a disciplinary process in place and things like that for write-ups, stuff like that. But finding that time for accountability and, that love tough sort of aspect, but all with the high level understanding and vision that, hey, look, I could see it. This is what's best for us. This is what's best and in a day and age where there's so many calls, there's meetings, there's things that we need to do with software, then the IT, things like that, having that communicated properly. Do you know of any accountability techniques, or have you experienced that same issue where you maybe could be of help to even me, man, because it's something that I want to do well at and get better at.
Yeah, I mean, accountability, it's huge. Like a lot of times what I'm learning in like the nonprofit space is that, your director is accountable to the board of directors, right? But there's also the accountability to the rest of the team and the rest of the staff as well. So like there's two sides. There's and to your own self, your own personal integrity as well. But first, like, what are we measuring? What are we holding accountable? Because I can just say, hey, Jeff, come up with a marketing plan.
Yeah. So general and generic.
We got this thing in 2 months.
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Well, why isn't it done, Jeff?
Yeah. It's supposed to be done in this due date, but here, yeah.
Yeah. So like in the accountability process or like projects, we need check-ins and milestones, right? And a lot of organizations are flying by the seat of our pants, doing the best that we can, putting out fires, living in survival mode. On the outside, it looks nice and green, fancy, all that. But inside, we are missing rhythms and routines. We were talking earlier, I think maybe before the show, about like recovery stuff. And even for a person like entering a recovery thing, like routines and doing the same thing at the same time, so important. It's even, same thing with school, with kids, consistency, those things. So like with my people, I need to be able to be that solid person for them and show up for them. If it's my, I like doing this thing called Meeting Mondays. I know it's cheesy, but Meeting Mondays is, hey, every Monday, I know I'm going to meet with 2 staff members.
Yeah.
Right. And then the next Monday, I might meet with 2 different staff members. And then the next Monday, I may be back with the people from 2 weeks ago. Right. And I'm giving them like whatever your rhythm wants to be, you just set it. So in this scenario, it's 2 weeks with my managers or with my leaders to check in on them as a person. And then also like we're both very clear, like what are the metrics that we're checking in on. And you can have qualitative or quantitative. It's just you got to be clear on this is what we're going to check in 2 weeks. If you're struggling, reach out. Here's how you can do that. Here's what's available to you. So accountability, everybody is like, everyone makes it mean something negative. Like I'm going to find out that I didn't do my homework. You know what I mean? Remember that feeling?
Yeah.
Oh man, teacher's going to be mad. Dad's going to
Can't
find
sleep
out.
all night. That was me anyway. I wasn't the best student in school.
Maybe I can do this on the bus in the morning.
Yeah.
No?
That was me.
Yep. Same. So like it's like this fear-based thing, but like so inside of your team and your culture, we have to shift. Accountability is not a fear-based thing. It is this growth opportunity. It's where my leader and I are going to get like this like A+. I don't know how to say it like the best time. It's like a coaching or mentoring time. Like that's where you're building rapport or building trust or building that. If you don't have those times built in with your team, like regular check-ins, like there's not going to be trust. There's not going to be that feeling of, oh, I can ask my leader for help, or tell them like, I'm actually struggling with this because or I could ask for help and say I'm struggling with this, or stay in fear of, I'm not performing at the way that I want here. I'm not hitting this metric. So I need a sounding board, or I need a place that I can say, hey, XYZ, I'm having a hard time with, or like, whatever. So again, this has to be built in to the culture. And if it's not, then hey, we have to break it.
Yeah. Yeah. Having some structure is really important. Like we have the solutions rule is one thing, where if you have an issue or a problem with something, whether it's process or just in general, one solution minimum bring to the table. So this way it's not in the meeting or something like that where everybody would get into complaint mode and things like that. But I've been in companies where I worked remote, and I had to go in every couple months, and I'd sit in a meeting, and I would go again in a couple months, and it would be almost the same meeting, a revolving door of just everybody complaining about the same things over and over again, and no actions being done. But it's amazing because you nailed it. Like on the outside, they're a really great company. It looks polished. And they really are.
Right.
They really are. But there's always going to be internally some things that you have to get over. So I do agree with you that getting to the bottom of what you want, what your mission is, and what the culture is, and then creating a structure around that for check-ins and things like that is really key.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. Like let's say you have a existing culture, and you're recognizing, waking up, hey, this is not what I want. This is not as healthy as it could be. Like I've been growing, I've been developing. Dang, like this is not working out. Great book or great resource. I'd like to shout out here is the book 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
Okay.
And
I haven't read that.
Oh, you'll love this. This is all about culture.
Nice.
And I bring that up because a lot of this is people issues, right? So the scary part of this that everybody tries to avoid is that, hey, we got to crack some eggs here to make an omelet. Some people are going to get upset. Some people are going to get frustrated and uncomfortable with the change of culture and stuff. So when you want to bring change to the organization, we first have to address, hey, what's the crap that's not acceptable here anymore? And like you and your leadership team, like we have to stop people pleasing, stop the I'm afraid to offend, and like cut the crap.
Yeah.
What do we need to talk about? Like, let's get it out and open on the table. But first set the stage of, hey, we are on the same team. Right. We're on the same team. We want the same things. It's about these kids. It's about XYZ objective. It's about reducing homelessness. That's whatever it is, right? We're here as a group. We're here as an organization to win collectively. And we make it about them. So that producing that clarity first of like, hey, we're all on the same team. We're all going to win. This is what we're doing, right? Creates that unity.
Yeah.
Right now we don't have any. Everyone's frustrated, complaining, But that has to be the common ground. You need to start with some place of common ground, and then we can start smashing stuff.
Yeah, and then get that structure and actions in place to make sure that it takes place. So you're not in the revolving doors of meetings, and because you talk about everything you want and go on a million different meetings, but at the end of the day, until there's an action plan and you act on it, I think that that's real important. And then gauging whether to make a move or this didn't work or it's not working. It's not easy,
and not like overloading it too. Like, have you been in the meetings where it's like, oh, we solved that problem pretty quick. Pretty easy. Mm-hmm. All right, let's add 15 more things to solve right now. And then it's like, holy crap.
That's true.
I don't even remember the first two things that we're doing. So I'm actually not experiencing change.
I go by threes, top threes.
Yep,
3 priorities per day.
Love that.
3 to the number 3 is my sweet spot.
I like the same threes.
Yeah.
Without that, man, we are just perpetuating the same culture, the same stuff. So like you have your issue solving time in a meeting or whatever, and then it's like, okay, great. Well, we finished early. Great. Go rest.
Yeah.
Go write up a cleaner to-do list. Go prep for your next thing. We don't have to fill that time and that space with more productive thing. Like, why don't I just execute that change well? And in slowing down and being still and doing that, I might have even other ideas to optimize the solution or galvanize it even more. Because our culture is, let me crank as fast and as hard as I can on this engine and produce as much as possible, as fast as I possible. Let me get as much cash as I can, or impact, or like whatever. And it's like, no, it's not a numbers game. It's what if the pathway to scale for impact or cash for your organization was doing really good quality work with few,
and building up people, and then they'll produce more. They'll be much more productive because they'll feel good, they'll feel healthier, and they'll want to work for you. And it's a win-win all around, because you're not going to have those. I mean, you'll have it. They'll be that, but you could then gauge really who's bringing your culture down, because then you'll know who you could let go or who you could try to make an adjustment and change. Sort of the energy vampires, you could see who is really taking a chunk out of the culture negatively, and you could hire and fire based on the culture.
Exactly. Referring to that tool. Hey, look at our culture doc during our evaluation time, or our check-in. And it's like, how do you feel? And you ask them to hold themselves accountable and measure themselves to the tool, right? And the person will hopefully realize that themselves, I need to change something, because Jeff, as my leader or the boss, can tell me till he's blue in the face, I want to XYZ or blue or whatever. But until also me as the employee or the staff member say, okay, he's right. I need to do this. Like, my behavior is not going to change. Like, I need to also come to the realization that I'm missing it. Like, that there's a disconnect here. So, and how you communicate is again, from that servant leadership posture, instead of do what I say, I want it like this.
Yeah.
It's like, well, first let me do it once for you. Let me serve you by doing it once, and I want you to watch.
Yeah.
Okay. And then number two, well, let's do this together. I'm gonna do half of it, you're gonna do half of it. Then third, I want you to watch. I want you to do it. I'm gonna watch, or you're gonna teach this person how to do what you just did.
Oh, those are all good things. Right. I could even bring to the table. I mean, right? It's so true. Any things that we ran into, Mark, along this has really been when I haven't been communicating certain things, or we've had that sort of like that gap. I mean, it makes really total sense to me.
Yeah, it does. It does.
One of the things I don't know if it's ever happened to you, or I've seen it happen to other people for sure in companies. I think it's common, or I want to go into favoritism a little bit and balancing that out, because sometimes there are these teams, and school projects, something like that, college, whatever, where one person usually does the more efficient work. And then everybody, and if they're a yes person, they're the yes type person that says yes to everything, people sort of give them work, or they give them more, and they take advantage of that spot, or they put them under, that. Is there any ways to recognize when that's happening within your organization, and then to spread out that work accordingly, so that one person is, and they may not say anything, they may just want to really help other people and please other people, but being too nice and also not saying no to certain things. And especially if somebody's efficient at what they do, people could take advantage of that and start throwing them work, or just, taking credit for work and stuff like that. So
yeah, that one's interesting. If you're a high achiever, high performer, with that stuff. Yeah. So the question is how to spread the work out accordingly if that is happening, or to recognize that if somebody is maybe taking on too much work, or to not favor other people. I think like project management
Yeah.
Is a clear solution, like identifying like, here are your tasks, here are your things, these are what you're accountable for. And again, like in a team, there may be, you may be stronger at executing than I am, but I might be more gifted in strategy.
So playing to people's strengths.
Yeah, because I can say like, all right, you're going to execute. You guys are going to be the boots on the ground, go give the flyers. out in Morristown and do that. But then there's like also work of this other person that says, all right, I need to come up with the strategy of messaging for this flyer, for this marketing piece. But so like dividing up the work, I think is clear, but not saying like, oh, because I spent 4 hours walking the streets doing this, I did more than this person who worked with their mind and created the art or created the messaging. Like, not all of that is equal, and like value is subjective sometimes. So it's like, you know, I think that's why I come back to project management, because in your tool you can identify these are the things that each person is going to do.
Yeah, and accountability too, where if somebody else wouldn't take the full burden on that. If you're spreading it out, it's all in writing, and you're following up on that, and somebody else wouldn't have to do the whole workload, and then, you know, kind of other people take credit for it, like in that school project scenario, where somebody really wants to get it done, then the others are like, oh, this is the person that's going to do most of the work.
But it's also like, okay, in the workplace, like some companies or some employees or employers, they tend to have like favoritism, like their favorite employee, you know, their favorite, or even coworker, their favorite coworker. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like you give certain things to your favorite coworker or employee or whatever. And then it's like that creates conflict within the company, because other employees see that and it's like, well, this coworker, I'm doing as much as this person, but this person is getting this, that, and the third, and I'm still stuck in this position, or I'm still stuck doing the same thing when we're both doing the same exact type work, but this person is being favored by the boss.
It could cause a resentment, and Ron nailed it. I think, Ron, you nailed it, like just creating that structure.
Yeah, and also it's like if there's a problem that comes up within the company or whatever, or organization, some employees don't feel comfortable going to their employer to address the problem, or they feel like if they do go to that employer will either criticize them for coming to them with a problem, or they're scared they might get fired, or they might get chastised, or they might get some type of action towards them because they bring this issue or problem to the employer. And it's like, it's crazy. Like with leaders, you have to make your people and your employees feel comfortable enough
to meet them where they're at. Yeah.
To not necessarily meet them where they're at, but you have to make your employees comfortable enough to come to you with an issue or a problem with the company to be able to address it.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, we want to celebrate and reward the behavior and the initiatives that you are seeing in your organization. Incentivize those things. So like every time you're identifying a problem, or your staff members identifying a problem, and then also here's a problem and I have this solution with it too. Like if you're going to bring me a problem, also come up with one solution, ideally, with it as well. Otherwise, it's just a complaint. And just teaching that and rewarding that makes us better.
Yeah, empathy as well. I think, you know, trying to put yourself in the other person's shoes, which is, you know, as a leader, sometimes you get caught up in that micromanagement style, or, hey, you know, we need this done, just do it. You know, having some just empathy for employees or team members, not just on the field, but off too, you know, their life, getting to know them as a person and building that trust and really showing that you care. And there's nothing better than when you genuinely care. Like the whole thing that we're doing here is so amazing because we have the opportunity to make money through the equipment company, but we're not just selling process equipment. We know we're working on something that's much better, and we're able to give back to the community. So, to me, I want to see Mark do really, really well. I want to see Mark have a lot of money, be very very successful, and, meet somebody, have kids, if he wants that. And I want that, for Alex, another team member, younger guy, to do really well too. So that, I think, is really important. And the cultures you're talking about, Mark, I think, are the number-based organizations that maybe just be focusing on their shareholders or certain things like that, or it's gotten away from them. They might be good people, but strategies like servant leadership, I mean, I've looked around, I don't really see anything that's better and that I would want to do personally anyway, ethically. I'd rather live in a small apartment, not make too much money, but make a really positive impact with a servant leadership or like that style company than to make $1 million and be putting people down and be, them not making a lot of money and stuff like that. And it be piggybacking off of people's unhappiness, really, and not their progression. Like, I think as a leader, it's your job really is to bring out the best in people. And if you make that your job, whether you're teaching somebody how to swing a baseball bat in sports or anything like that, it's all proven in those strategies. 7 habits, encouraging your kid instead of being like, you here's what you did wrong. You're never hitting the ball right here, or here's what you did right. Here's how you just lower your shoulder a little bit. You're doing great. That type of encouragement is huge right now, and it's lacking. And that's why we're here. That encouragement was the interaction with Daryl, essentially. So you could fuel other people with encouragement. It's like you could fuel their spirit. And I think gratitude is a shield against evil, and encouragement is the sword.
I like that.
And it could change lives. With CJ, I mean, you could be standing next to somebody, an employee or a team member of yours could be thinking about committing suicide, possibly. They could be depressed and you would never know because you didn't choose to get to know them and want to bring them up. You just were focused on the job itself because we put people in boxes and it's very transactional. I'm going to go to Starbucks, I'm going to just get a coffee and I'm going to go. And that's what it is. I think what's missing is us talking in line, us having those conversations with other people, us engaging and wearing the shoes much more. And if you add that level and that passion to a business, I think it could really thrive really well. And then back it up by the structure that you're talking about. And that's out there that anybody could, learn from other people that have been through it. And the best, like we talked about John Maxwell. I love John Maxwell. I haven't read his new book. I think it's 5 Steps to Leadership, something like that. His newest, or his newest couple ones. I do want to, he's pretty active right now too. He's doing a lot of talks and stuff like that. He's with Gordon on the road a lot. I'm going to do the Day of Development in October 3rd. I'm going to Plano, Texas. I got tickets to sit at a small lunch and do a Q&A with John too. So nice. John, looking forward to meeting you. I also, just real quick, I really want to thank Amy, Angela, Julie, all the staff at John Gordon for your support on the back end there. And I'm going to be sending you guys those books again, Wavemaker. It means a lot. Really respect and admire your work. And look forward to getting to know you guys more and really seeing where we could bring this. But yeah, I know that was a lot. That was an overload there. I went on a tangent. But yeah, man, I think it could be fun too. You can make the work environment fun, stuff like that, mix it up, but having empathy for other people and awareness. Awareness is key.
When you talk about empathy, it's like, I was just talking to a young lady the other day, and she, for some reason, like, she automatically knew that I was, like, she told me, like, she automatically sensed that I was, how they say, empath or whatever. And it's like, we talked for at least, had a 10-minute conversation.
Yeah, just a connection. You mean you
just
guys
connection. Like,
connected.
I've never seen this lady a day of my life.
Yeah.
And we just talked for like 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's what it's about.
Off empath, and she was like, "You're an empath." She was like, "You're an empath, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "How did you know?" She was like, "I could tell."
Yeah.
She was like, the way I could, like, just by looking at you and talking to you, I could tell this, that, and like certain things, and it was like, okay.
Yeah, you could feel it. And we talked about people's people, when you get to know them, and that's why it's changed my life, is because I've had unexpected conversations than I would maybe a couple of years ago with people, and the value and what they bring to the table based on their stories and their skills. It's, to me, us connecting right now, having this conversation, I'm learning more than I would on AI, on internet, or anything like that. That's why I think all of these are the distractions, really, because the true wealth, the true value is building each other up, having conversations and getting to know them, and unlocking such a value of, like, Tatum coming in doing the spoken word, you know, having talents like that, or just people having perspectives and reading things that I normally, you know, I wouldn't expect. It really is. There's such value in the individual. Path is truly to the person. That's how I look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And just to bring it home, Jeff, I think like this bringing change in culture and accountability, all this stuff, again, I think first starts with us, the individual being willing to slow down and be still ourselves. Like you guys were talking about the connections that you've been making with other people when you slow down, and it's like, yeah, that's awesome. It's great, and that's going to keep happening. But I think if we can even, be patient enough to slow down and cultivate that, be stillness in ourselves without an objective, which almost feels unproductive, for the high achiever. But being still with no objective, no agenda, then like that's it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I can get ahead of myself.
See what that produces. See what comes up out of you, out of the seeds that have already been deposited.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's tough. I can get ahead of myself sometimes, and you can get in that go. But yeah, making sure there's designated night for me. It's a morning routine. When I'm off my morning routine, I'm off.
Yeah,
I mean, I really do. When I'm been snoozing, hitting that alarm. You know, I have a certain couple apps that I read, do the Bible app, Bible Project, a couple other things, brain game, things like that, stretch, go work out, things like that I've instilled a discipline. Because at the end of the day, and I think Ed Milet, I heard him say it on his podcast, whether it came directly from him or something like that, there's the pain of regret, or there's a pain of discipline in the moment. And I would rather live a life well lived, live something bold, go after something huge that has the potential of really creating a legacy for Chris and I's potential future family, God willing, if we have kids, or be able to spark the dreams of other people just indirectly by being, pursuing something like this and showing people what's possible. I mean, why not do that? I'd rather be in pain for doing things that I don't want to do, or doing things that are towards my purpose, because it really isn't, though. It really, it's that the pain is not, you end up doing it so much, self-development and this type of thing. You break through something where then you hit a purpose that can't take you off at all. Like there's nothing that will, if the equipment company blew out tomorrow, I would find another way and Wave would stay and go. You know what I mean? Like I think that everybody's different. People may not get to something that maybe I'm passionate about, like Mark and I, or this, gift God has given us, or this mission. I think everybody's different, but why not at least look instead of going to a 9 to 5 and also too, Ron, like generational wealth is being taken away a bit. So I look at it too as it's really important to shatter that glass ceiling into the realm of where John Gordon's at and like people that I look up to and respect. It's almost like a must for future generations, I feel like, too. That's how serious I take it, like with that. And I really do. I believe that there are things people could do to sit down, whether it's success journals, whether it's really through therapy or writing down your past, what you want to improve, setting goals monthly, weekly, having an idea of your vision personally.
Yeah.
We lack vision in the country. Yeah, I think that is really, really key. So as a leader, having that established and having that mindset of helping people is really key.
I know it's a must for me, because I'm hard on myself, and it's like I think I'm out of my birth mom's kids, I'm the only one who doesn't have any kids. You know, things like that. And it's like out of my father's kids, like I said, I got anywhere between 13 to 20 other siblings. I only met 7 so far. And they were all sisters. And, you know, some of them have kids. I think some are married, some don't, whatever. But I think I'm the only one of, between my birth mom, my father, and my mom that raised me kids, I'm the only one that's never been married, no kids. But also, it's like I see it like I think I'm the only one who's not living the, I guess, the lifestyle of having a family and kids and having a lot of opportunities, you know what I'm saying, to help me get further in life and things like that. And it's like, I always picture myself or have conversations with myself, like, what can I do for myself in my life to help me improve myself
and
in my life?
For a business perspective there, to segue that in, I think that mentorship aspect of sitting down, doing half the work, things like that. Me and Mark are so different in that regards. So that awareness of that, and then having understanding what his perspective on is and like what his needs are and stuff like that, and tailoring that program. I have a question for you. Have you ever had trouble meeting somebody where they're at and wanted them to be in a certain mold when you're leading a team? That's tough because you see everything, right? You know it's going to be good and we should do this. Did that ever happen to you?
Yeah, I mean, I was a professional coach for about 10 years. So every day.
Yeah. It's like,
no, like I think it's a blessing and a curse for a leader to be able to see the gifts and potential in another person. I think it's a gift. But even more being able to pull that out and cultivate that, that's a good leader that can do that. But yeah, I think that's again being patient with yourself and with the person, because you know, I might break through something slower than Mark breaks through. Like we have different backgrounds and different things that have happened to us. So, you know, he may be more resilient than I am and be able to move faster through something, as opposed to somebody who, you know, doesn't have that same bag of experiences. You know, I have to approach them differently, or realize, oh, this person's not a race car. This person's, you know, a regular car or this kind of car, and they drive a bit slower, you know? So it's like, I think again, that's like loving the person well and authentically caring. Like it may not be in their best interest to get to point B as fast as possible.
Right. So having an understanding, right, exactly. It may not be.
What if I'm robbing them of the breakthrough by pushing them faster?
Exactly. And they may not, like I said before, with maybe some people don't care about the recognition with a little, you know, plaque on the table. They'd rather a check. So yeah, it's not everything's going to mean the same to other people.
But also, like, the problem with leadership sometimes is that you want the breakthrough, you want the success more for them than they do for themselves.
Oh,
and that's a problem.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If a person does not want to win or does not see themselves, you know, wanting that for themselves, and you know, that's a substantial problem.
I've done that.
Yeah,
like I may not want that person on my team. You know what I mean?
So you think would be me doing it if I was doing that? Or no, I guess it depends. Everything's situational. Yeah, it all depends. I mean, they may not really want it at all, or they may not be communicating, because people are different. I may be more outgoing. I mean, more vocal, wear my heart on my sleeve, where somebody else, I may not even know they're having a problem. They don't communicate as much, or they're more internal, maybe more engineer, where I'm more, you know, sales, marketing, kind of, you know, those type of differences.
Like me, because I'm not used to asking people for anything or asking for help and things like that. I sit and just, you know, I don't try to, like, I try to figure out stuff on my own first before I feel like I need to ask someone else. Like I said before, I'm hard on myself before anybody else. You know what I'm saying? If you can't sit back and criticize yourself or take criticism for yourself and look in the mirror sometimes and be like, okay, have a conversation with yourself in the mirror, like Michael Jackson said, the man in the mirror.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't have a conversation with yourself and criticize yourself, stand and look in the mirror, what are you doing? You're not doing this like you should be, or you're not, you know what I'm saying, talking to yourself. You're not gonna self-develop.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important to customize things, and we're starting time-wise to wrap it up. For people, like I had taken down some statistics on servant leadership. So retention rate, 82% of employees with servant leadership report being more committed to their organization. It's a decent number. Performance, teams with servant leaders are 20% more likely to show top-tier performance. And engagement, servant leaders has been shown to increase employee engagement by 32%, according to various studies. Those numbers are really good. So it's smart business to make sure you have a positive environment and you do something like that.
Yeah. And again, just to bring it home, Jeff, I think it starts with you being willing to be still.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that's a simple thing that maybe we can start or take home from today's episode is like, what if it was, if you don't have this yet, what if it's just once a week where you sat for 15 minutes?
Yeah.
And no phone or distractions. Just I'm just gonna chill for 15 minutes and see if I can do it. Because you'll have a million thoughts come up, which is of course natural. But
there's self-development.
Maybe a little notepad.
Yeah.
That stillness and that's the stillness. To me, it incorporates the self-development because within that stillness, you're by yourself. You're in your thoughts alone.
Yeah, you can sort them out
within that stillness.
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
can sort your thoughts out. You can sort whatever it is that's occurring right now. You can have that stillness space to work at it and, come up with different strategies within those thoughts or whatever you have within that stillness.
Right. And he's absolutely right. Ron, you nailed it because it is from the inside out. It's like that coffee bean, right? You can be a carrot, softened by your environment from the boiling water. You could be an egg, get all hard and intense, or from the inside out, you can literally transform your environment because if you drop a coffee bean in a boiling pot of water, it's going to transform the environment. And that's really what it is. And servant leadership at its core principle is that. So Ron, I really, really want to say that I appreciate you coming on. This was really good. I appreciate it. I think that it's endless too, and probably we might be able to branch off with other subjects, whether it be in the personal development space or things like that. But appreciate your expertise, you coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Appreciate
Mark,
it.
thank you. Everybody, you take care. Thank you so much for riding the wave. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to Ride the Wave. It's been a pleasure having you with us as we explore ways to make a positive impact together. Remember, every little wave creates a ripple of change. We appreciate any support you can provide as we plan to build an all-inclusive, modern campus and empower communities. For details on how you can contribute through various platforms, please visit us at ridethewave.org. Until next time, keep riding the wave of change with us. I'm Jeff Fisher, signing off, but the journey continues.